Darren here, and I want to show you this Cavision rig. It's a nice little rig. It costs you under $200, and it comes with the shoulder pad, the rails, the camera plate, and the hand grips. So let's just dive right into it. Now, one of the reasons I bought this is because I really liked how low profile and simple the camera block was. But as you can see, well, it's not exactly industry standard height when you're using it just as is. If you put a riser plate or a quick release plate in between there would help and be a more reasonable height. But as you can see, if you just try to use anything like a simple matte box, this one can't go nearly low enough. But that's a limitation just because of the way I wanted to use this. So here is the plate. It is smooth all the way around, really nice and chic. Now, the biggest problem I have with this system altogether is that little lever. That's what they had to come up with so that they can actually have the rods lock into place without having big thumb screws everywhere. And that is all you can do to lock it into place. So it's not as infinitely tightenable as thumb screws. Yes, it does work, and they did give you a little knob here, a little hex sort of, yeah, that looks like hex. A hex adjustment so you can get it just right and always retighten it over time. I kind of chose a middle ground, so to speak, that when it's in its open position, it still is a little snug on the rods. You have to pull them out a little bit because I want to make sure that when it's locked, the rods are locked and not going anywhere. So not as infinitely, as I said, tightenable as regular thumb screws, but I can work with it. Not a huge deal. What is kind of a big deal is that that little screw sits above the camera, the actual plate height. So it doesn't make a difference with a DSLR, but with cameras like my new C100 that have a longer front lip, it makes it so you can't even use it. And if you tried to, you'll scratch the crap out of the bottom of your camera. So I've been meaning to actually take a hacksaw and chop off that 2 some odd millimeters that does that. But that's probably my biggest issue with it. Another nice little feature is that the alignment bolts, since a lot of cameras, some cameras do and some cameras don't have alignment holes. So this one, it's just a fully threaded little hole, and you can just screw in and screw out that little alignment pin to whatever works with your camera. So that's a nice little feature. And as I said, it's got a nice big thumb screw. Wish it had a little pop-up lever so you don't need a quarter, but whatever. It's also got the 3/8 and a couple other holes here, so that's nice. Now the hand grips. The nice part about them is that they feel pretty good. They're kind of a fake leather, wood grain here, but they are not wood. They're plastic, but they feel like a pretty good plastic. And the other thing is that you can adjust them so they go more like this or more like that, but that's about it. You can't make them wider, you can't lengthen them in any way. They are pretty much gonna stay right there. And they work pretty well in that position as it is, but limited still depending on how you like to hold your rigs. Now moving on to the shoulder part, it's kind of the most customizable. As you can see, I've got it offset so that for cameras like a 5D where the screen is in the middle, you can have it so you can look straight at the screen. Pretty nice. Downside though, to get it so that it's under the rails, to change it into that configuration, you see all these little silver plates? They're held on by 3 screws. You need to take one off of this middle plate and put it on the other side, which, you know, you got to get your little screwdriver and take it out and put it back on, make sure it's tight. A little bit annoying. But what I find is that if you only have 1, maybe 2 cameras that are similar in ergonomics, once you find the position that works right, you're not really going to change it around much. But maybe you do need to change it around much, and that might, you know, change your decision about whether or not this is right for you. So another nice thing is that this goes as, you know, I guess really XXXL wide for people who have unusually sized shoulders, but it goes for much smaller shoulder sizes. And you can go anywhere in between and lock it in. What I found with the, you know, XXL size is good for is using this more as like a gun stock. Instead of the weight sitting on your shoulder, you kind of more press it into your shoulder because you can also adjust, you know, the position of how this sits so you can really get it so it's a nice comfort level for whatever your body type is. So yeah, it works pretty nice. It's fairly well built. The only thing that's a whole lot of plastic is the shoulder part. But you know what? It's a pretty thick plastic, so I'm pretty happy about that. There's a bunch of other holes all over the place, like over there, which I think is for different rising plates. There's also a bunch of threaded holes here. So I don't know if there's other accessories I haven't found yet, or they just said, you know, let's just put some threaded holes in for people to play around with. There's also holes in the back here, which they have other accessories for. I think they have like a V-lock style mount, battery mount you can put on here, or just a battery basket or a weight basket or a thing that's got a whole bunch of holes. I didn't know about those accessories, so I actually just put my own DIY 1/4 thread there. So yeah, that's the only part about this I really modified, but I will be getting around to modifying that little pin there to lower it. But that, as I say, is that. I will link you to it properly and a few other rigs that are similar to it, and I hope you enjoy and get some good use out of it. Darren Levine, MediaHell.com, shoulder rig.